Oh, welcome back. Sorry if I seem a bit distracted, but I can't quite get something out of my mind right now. During my brief time away in October, I had an experience with a little game called Scorn. If you haven't heard about it, I don't blame you. It's got a pretty small audience.
What is this, more trash? Better be a written apology. Let's see this. Oh, look how big you are. Oh, this is very nice.
In my experience, I've never been made to feel such things as Scorn has made me feel. It was the first time that I've played a game that actively hates you. Yes, I know about the Dark Souls franchise, but Scorn presents a more personal and insidious hatred to those that play it. It creeps up on you, and the feeling only heightens until the climax of the game. What does this even mean? How can a game loathe your existence and fully show its intention to cut your adventures through a world of flesh and stone short? Let's step back into the game and immerse ourselves in gore and pull some questionable levers together as we explore Scorn. Scorn is a first-person biopunk. That's a new one. Survival game developed by Ebb Software for Microsoft Windows and Xbox Series X and S. The game was created with the intention of dropping players into a world like newborn pups, which means that the players receive no initial context of what's going on and have to try to comprehend the sights presented to them. As one who plays games for the experiences that the medium is able to present, I applaud this descent into biotechnical hell. Not only does Scorn excel in bringing the feelings of being lost and afraid to the forefront of a player's mind, it reminds you at every opportunity that the odds are completely stacked against you, and that you'll be lucky if you survive the rather fleshy situation you found yourself in. If you intend to play the macabre biomechanical nightmare that is Scorn, I'd recommend playing that first before you go any further with this video. Consider that your warning. I believe that Scorn can be neatly divided into 3 segments. The first segment begins with you, our humanoid protagonist, making your journey to a tower in the desert before letting gravity take over as you fall into a connected cavern and lose consciousness. After shaking the dirt off of your skull, the exploration begins as you introduce yourself to the biotech puzzles of the world, with levers of various sizes and shapes, and consoles that can only be interfaced with once you undergo a mandatory grafting, which affixes a key permanently to your wrist. You can even make a friend in this section. That is, if you don't give him the sister location treatment.
You are in the scooping room now. The scooper only hurts.
I like to think that if you don't scoop him, he goes on his own little adventure. After he figures out how to disengage himself from the lever you leave him attached to, of course. Shortly after, you find yourself placing what I'm going to call batteries into a central node after you snag yourself a nice pneumatic piston, which is of course also made of flesh. The fully charged node then backfires as it explodes and covers you in a nice warm blanket of goo for your upcoming forever nap. The second segment has you awaken in a sort of chrysalis womb on the side of a nearby mountain, which you break out of with minimal injury. This is then followed by a brief walk through the same desert as earlier, but now something's off. Corpses of humanoids, a lot like yourself, are strewn throughout the path you take back to the tower, and amalgams of what appears to be cancerous flesh seem to be growing across the wasteland. It's at this point you realize that you're not supposed to be alive. And yet here you are, against all odds. Instead of entering through the basement this time, you make your way into the tower using a back door of sorts. Then, after a short stroll through areas you may have remembered from the first segment, you encounter another living thing for the first time. It should have sent a shiver up my spine, but all I could see was... monkey. This thing is commonly referred to as the parasite by players of the game. But I didn't know that until I completed the game myself, so monkey it is. The monkey gives you a pseudo-permanent hug and presents you with the piston gun you had earlier. This has led many to believe that the entity with its hands behind your ribs was the first protagonist of the game, with a twisted new appearance. You and your new best friend go through puzzles together as it helps you hold things and occasionally tears at your organs, which I assume it does because you're taking too long to admire the grim scenery or slinking slowly around every corner in anticipation of a monster, other than the one knuckle deep in your guts. Speaking of, upon further investigation of the tower's desolate halls, you begin to notice anomalies. Masses of them are attached to the walls, in bloody masses so large that they've begun to clog up and disable the biotechnology that you had begun getting used to. I believe that these were analogous of a cancer, ravaging a once well-oiled, blooded machine. And like mass-multiplied cancer cells, these things have no clear purpose and appear to be foreign in the environment that they appear in as their bodies subsume the once delicate architecture. Then, of course, the things start moving. Out of range, of course, but that's enough to make your skin crawl when one finally crosses your path. The first enemy you're likely to encounter is one of 4, which I have termed a dog.
What the dog doing?
Dogs will shamble over on all fours and either use projectile vomit to assault you, or if all else fails, use what appears to be their entire distended stomach to swing at you. The second member of this disgustingly pale entourage is the chicken, which I nicknamed for its stature, of course. While it doesn't hit as hard or withstand as much damage as the dogs, it makes up for those shortcomings with superior range and the ability to alert other members of its flock to your location. Chickens became a particularly large thorn in my side in certain areas, as they could snipe me with ease as I struggled to understand my weapon's basic mechanics. The third enemy presence is what I'll call the Brood Mother, because of its apparent breeding capabilities. I never got to interact with one in combat, thank goodness, but I feel that this encounter was missing from my playthrough. Let me know if you viewers at home actually got to fight one. While the Brood Mother appears behind an impassable wall, the fourth and final cancerous enemy is found behind one you must pass. As you may have guessed by my barnyard naming vernacular for the first 2 amorphous entities, and the sheer mass of this enemy, I nicknamed it the Mule. With mules, it is on sight. One of you is going to stop breathing very quickly in these encounters, as the mules will continuously charge you and knock you down with consecutive tackles, until either you or it flatlines. The mules are far superior at murder than its predecessors, as they're stronger than dogs with a higher health pool to boot, and if they reach you, it can be difficult to recover, especially if you're randomly assaulted by 2 at the same time like I was. Oh, and about your weapons. Let's see here what it says about the weapons. Excuse me, BaneBot. Can you tell me what this is?
What do you mean, Dr. Bane?
Well, it says here, to improv. Why was that put in the script?
Dr. Bane, it has been 2 months since you have begun to write the script.
I suppose this is what I get for procrastinating. Well, I haven't improved a script since, well, ever really. Might as well have some fun with it. As I mentioned earlier, you do acquire a few more weapons during your journey through the tower. Firstly, your piston gun can be used as a melee weapon. You can fire it twice before the steam has to reload, leaving you vulnerable to attacks. It really shouldn't be your first choice if you have any of the other 3 weapons in this game. The first true weapon that you receive is a pistol-rifle combo, which uses tiny flesh beads as ammunition. You can charge up the power and accuracy of the shot by aiming down the sights, and it'll be your go-to for at least half of the game. The second weapon that you acquire is what I'm going to call a shotgun, because that is, for all intents and purposes, what it is. It's good at dealing heavy damage at close range, but of course that falls off rapidly with distance. It's best to save this ammunition for mules and sometimes dogs if the situation gets hairy enough. You do get your mitts on another weapon further on in the story, but we'll get to that when we get there. Also, during your journey in the tower, you'll find health stations and stations that refill your ammunitions. You do have to be a little careful when you reload at these though, because from prior experiences, there's a good chance that you'll be assaulted by the barnyard crew each and every time you get to a reload. However, I did notice that during combat, if you avoid the creatures for long enough, they return to their holes. They're squishy, dark, bloody holes that lead to nowhere. After journeying further down into the tower, you'll come upon a grand lift that will take you all the way up and out to the trams that will lead you to the next location. However, there's one little thing that's in the way. You'll realize that there's a giant creature on top of your objective and you need to peel it off to get to where you need to go. So, by running around and activating some switches, you eventually are able to activate the elevator and, assumedly, shred the beast as you ascend. And then, as a reward for facing off with many waves of enemies during that last segment, you get a nice train ride and a gold star. Okay, just kidding about the gold star, but the train ride itself, it's like a treat. At the end of the train ride, you wind up at what appears to be a sex temple. Yes, I'm going to call it a sex temple because obviously that's what it is. Upon further investigation of said temple, you notice that it appears to be of religious significance to whatever your people are, and that there's several variations of people that look like yourself, strapped up and crucified, and nice little torture machines all around the chamber, and they all seem to be connected to a network in the ceiling. Don't worry, you'll get more acquainted with that in a little bit. From there, the only way is down, and you notice that there are 2 females, the first 2 females that you've seen in this entire game, laying down on pedestals. You need goo to activate them. And where do you get goo? From the jar babies, of course. And how do you get the jar babies out of the jar? You have to strap them into an automaton, and then blast them. It took me a little while to realize that I needed to shoot them because I thought that the automaton was going to do something useful, but it didn't. It just sat there, convulsing, as though something was wrong. So I fixed the problem, took the baby off the floor, and brought it to the squishing machine. Oh yes, did I forget to mention that this game is extremely grim? After squishing your first baby, you realize that you need the fluid from inside of them to finish the puzzle with the women on the pedestals. However, after you acquire the second baby in a jar and plug it into the second automaton, it realizes what's about to happen and throws you back, engaging you in a very tedious boss battle. It'll attack you with its triple grenade launchers and occasionally charge and swing at you. But as long as you have stable brain cells in your skull, you should be able to handle this encounter pretty easily and score yourself a fresh grenade launcher. And I'm not going to explain the grenade launcher because it's pretty self-explanatory. Also, after you receive it, the virus that infects your monkey friend spreads throughout your body, making you unable to switch to your other weapons anymore. After solving some more puzzles with that, you unlock the third baby and have another boss encounter with another automaton. But this time, you can cut it short by simply lobbing a bomb into its bomb-filled back. I'm going to be real with you, it took me at least 2 tries to figure out that's what needed to happen. I felt like I had stepped into an episode of Looney Tunes. After crushing your third baby, you're able to activate the females that you found on the pedestals. And upon going back upstairs to investigate things, the doctor is ready to see you. Oh, you know, that creepy automaton thing that was standing in the center? Yes, I know that caught your eye. It proceeds to put you on a pump, lob off your brain pan, and send your mind into the collective, presumably to mingle with the other minds in the hall until eternity passes over. However, that's not the end of you. Oh, no. You awaken as one of the female entities, of which you can switch back and forth between. And upon inspecting yourself, you see that you're being carved up by the good doctor. You then proceed to completely disrespect the doctor's work ethic by taking yourself out of his caring arms and carrying him out the front door to a bridge. And it seems like you're so close to getting something that you truly want. An ending, a finale. However, the monkey has other plans. Did I skip over the part where you have to dunk yourself into a surgery machine to rip the monkey off your back, which leaves you horribly maimed? Oh, I did? Well, don't worry about that anymore. The monkey lunges at you, tears you out of the caring woman automaton's arms, and attacks you viciously until the two of you meld into a pillar of writhing, groaning flesh at the foot of the bridge to stand forever until time fades away. To be honest, I don't really know what to make of this ending. And according to interviews and the creators, it's largely left up to player interpretation. Sometimes, maybe it's best not to know. And that was Scorn. This game truly excels at making you feel lost in a foreign realm, where your wits are your only chance at survival, no matter what the world throws at you. There aren't too many games that can make that experience as tangible as Scorn has. And the hard work that was put into this game truly shows in all details. And it's the first game in a long time that I've been able to play without encountering any bugs of any kind. And if that isn't a nice change of pace, I really don't know what is. Now, in the past, we've used grading scales for games that are completely useless in hindsight. Yes, I can give games as many numbers as I like. But what really matters is whether or not I would recommend you play it. And in the case of Scorn, I believe that that is surely the case. If you haven't given the game a try yet, I definitely recommend it. Until next time, dear viewers.